1366 1366. Chapter 1366. Battle with the Yellow Sand Yaksha. Buddhist Techniques. The golden scissors quickly transformed, instantly becoming a giant pair of scissors with a diameter exceeding 100 meters. The pure gold laws in the lake were activated. This was a high-level God-King artifact. At the moment of attack, the powerful gold laws dispersed the lake water, creating a vacuum around it. The Yellow Sand Yaksha, locked in place, was trapped in the vacuum zone, its entire body wrapped in strands of golden light, unable to move.
Cut!
With a light command from Xiaoming Buddha, the giant scissors made a snapping sound and cut down. At this moment, the Yellow Sand Yaksha was covered in wounds, its defense shattered by the formation's whip, further weakened by the corrosion bead, and its recovery ability suppressed. It could be said that the Yellow Sand Yaksha was in a completely weakened state. The golden scissors cut down without any resistance, the sharp blades slicing along the wounds, aiming to cut the Yellow Sand Yaksha in half. The Yellow Sand Yaksha seemed to react, its eyes flashing with ferocity, and it thrust its spear like lightning, striking the golden scissors. With a loud bang, the golden scissors were sent flying by the spear. Lin Moyu saw a huge gap appear on the golden scissors, indicating that the artifact had been severely damaged. Even a high-level God-King artifact could be severely damaged in one strike, showing the incredible attack power of the Yellow Sand Yaksha spear. Of course, this was also related to the nature of the golden scissors. The advantage of gold laws was their unparalleled sharpness, but their disadvantage was their inherent fragility. Pure gold artifacts were all like this. High attack, low defense was the hallmark of such artifacts. A sand timer-like artifact flew out, instantly hovering above the Yellow Sand Yaksha's head, with the bottom cover disappearing simultaneously, and sand pouring out densely. The sand intertwined into a net, enveloping the Yellow Sand Yaksha, and an invisible force bound the Yellow Sand Yaksha, making it unable to move. Lin Moyu's skeletal demon warriors appeared beside him, and he pointed 3 times. A massive roar sounded, and the violent explosion almost lifted the lake bottom, with water columns shooting thousands of meters into the sky. Each explosion was an attack surpassing the 9th rank of a God-King, and 3 explosions simultaneously hit the same spot on the monster. Lin Moyu chose the explosion spot very accurately, targeting a wound on the Yellow Sand Yaksha's neck. The Yellow Sand Yaksha's body swayed, blasted into disarray. If it weren't bound, it would have been blown away. The wound on its neck further expanded, and the Yellow Sand Yaksha's aura weakened. Lin Moyu's face turned slightly pale, as if the 3 explosions had consumed a lot of his strength. Xiaoming Buddha rushed to the Yellow Sand Yaksha's side before the explosions had completely ended, throwing out the prayer beads, which transformed into a thick-backed Buddhist knife. Buddhist chants echoed from the knife, as if countless Buddhas were chanting scriptures. The Buddhist chants carried a hint of enchantment, making one feel an urge to convert. The ferocity in the Yellow Sand Yaksha's eyes suddenly disappeared, clearly affected by the Buddhist chants. The Yellow Sand Yaksha stood still, allowing the Buddhist knife to strike. Lin Moyu became more vigilant, realizing that even without the sand timer's binding, the Yellow Sand Yaksha wouldn't dodge. At this moment, its soul was enchanted by the Buddhist chants, as if in an illusion. The Buddhist knife accurately struck the wound on the Yellow Sand Yaksha's neck, further enlarging the wound. A large amount of blood-like substance sprayed from the wound, and the Yellow Sand Yaksha's aura weakened further. Xiaoming Buddha didn't stop, the Buddhist knife returning to his hand as prayer beads. He threw the prayer beads again, this time transforming into a 2-handed heavy sword, with celestial Buddhas engraved on the blade, and Buddhist chants echoing again. The strike was fiercer and more intense than before. The Yellow Sand Yaksha seemed to sense danger and suddenly reacted. It broke free from the Buddhist chants, its aura surging, trying to break free from the sand timer's control. The Black Sand God King maintained the sand timer with all his might, but the Yellow Sand Yaksha still broke free partially. The Yellow Sand Yaksha swung its spear, clashing with the Buddha's sword, blocking the fatal strike. With a loud bang, the lake water surged, and a powerful shockwave spread out, sending the Buddhist sword flying back, transforming back into prayer beads. Among the 18 prayer beads, one became dim and cracked, clearly damaged. Xiao Ming Buddha's eyes flashed with pain, but he threw the prayer beads again.
Attack, don't let it recover.
The erosion god king had already rushed forward, his body glowing black, turning the surrounding water into pitch-black sludge. The sludge transformed into a giant snake, biting the wound on the yellow sand yaksha's neck. The yellow sand yaksha roared, swinging its spear to fling the snake away, which exploded in the lake, forcing the erosion god king to retreat. The prayer beads transformed back into the Buddhist knife, striking the wound heavily. The yellow sand yaksha groaned, its aura weakening again. It swung its spear, sending the Buddhist knife flying, and let out a sharp scream. The scream turned into an invisible sound wave, spreading in all directions. Lin Moyu's heart tightened.
It's summoning its minions.
He pointed and a red light flashed. Fusion spell. Time curse. A soul-level attack, though it couldn't harm the yellow sand yaksha, could cause it pain and interrupt its actions. The scream abruptly stopped, and Xiaoming Buddha threw the prayer beads again. This time, the prayer beads were brighter than before. 5 different weapons, knife, sword, halberd, staff, and stick, appeared simultaneously. Clearly, Xiaoming Buddha was using all his strength this time. The 5 weapons attacked the yellow sand yaksha's neck wound simultaneously, with a giant sun rising above Xiaoming Buddha's head, shooting out countless rays of Buddhist light, enhancing the weapon's power. Lin Moyu was awed, realizing that this was Xiaoming Buddha's true strength, previously held back. Even this attack might not be his final trump card. The 5 weapons struck the yellow sand yaksha's neck wound simultaneously. With a loud bang, the yellow sand yaksha's neck was severed. Xiaoming Buddha sighed in relief.
Finally killed it.
Lin Moyu shook his head.
It's not dead, the crystal core hasn't come out.
Without the crystal core, it wasn't dead. The severed head of the yellow sand yaksha suddenly glowed bright yellow, and countless flesh balls on it exploded, growing tendrils of laws. The tendrils connected to the body, reattaching the head. The horn's light intensified, and the yellow sand at the lake bottom erupted like a volcano, shooting out sand columns. The sand columns, carrying powerful impact, blasted towards everyone. At the same time, the yellow sand yaksha completely broke free from the sand timer's binding, charging at Xiaoming Buddha. Throughout the battle, Xiaoming Buddha had inflicted the most damage on it, and it was Xiaoming Buddha who had severed its head, so it naturally targeted him. Xiaoming Buddha's face changed, and the prayer beads transformed into a large shield, with the giant sun above his head enhancing the shield with Buddhist light. With a loud bang, the spear struck the shield, and Xiaoming Buddha's face turned pale as he was sent flying. Lin Moyu wasn't worried, knowing that Xiaoming Buddha had more tricks up his sleeve. Moreover, Xiaoming Buddha's life or death had nothing to do with him. The yellow sand yaksha crazily pursued Xiaoming Buddha, its spear striking like lightning, forcing Xiaoming Buddha to retreat step by step.
After reattaching its head, the yellow sand yaksha has become more frenzied. Its attack seems stronger, but its aura is weaker than before. Xiaoming Buddha should have noticed this too, otherwise he wouldn't be able to hold on.
1367, 1367, Chapter 1367. Amitabha. Buddha's light slays the demon. Lin Moyu quietly observed the battle between Xiaoming Buddha and the yellow sand yaksha. At the moment, it seemed that Xiaoming Buddha was being firmly suppressed by the yellow sand yaksha, with no power to resist. However, in Lin Moyu's eyes, this was not the case. He continuously paid attention to Xiaoming Buddha's expression. Although he appeared to be at a disadvantage, Xiaoming Buddha was actually extremely calm. Moreover, there was a faint flash of killing intent in his eyes, indicating that he was waiting for an opportunity to deliver a fatal blow. The methods of the Buddhist clan were very mysterious and ruthless. Lin Moyu never forgot how Kong when Buddha had killed him. In front of everyone, He attacked Lin Moyu's soul, even deceiving the eyes of other deities. Such methods were beyond the capabilities of ordinary deities. It wasn't that Kongwen Buddha was particularly powerful, but rather that the Buddhist clan's methods were too advanced. The Black Sand God King came to Lin Moyu's side, his voice like sandpaper rubbing together.
What should we do?
There was a hint of worry in his eyes. Clearly, he hadn't noticed Xiao Ming Buddha's composure. In his eyes, Xiao Ming Buddha was at an absolute disadvantage. Moreover, the Yellow Sand Yaksha's attacks were extremely fierce and almost frenzied. He wanted to help but feared that the Yellow Sand Yaksha would target him instead. He considered himself less powerful than Xiao Ming Buddha. If he faced the Yellow Sand Yaksha alone, he might die. As for the Erosion God King, he was the weakest among the four and couldn't possibly take action. Lin Moyu said,
Let's prepare to act and trust Xiao Ming Buddha.
The Black Sand God King couldn't think of a better idea and could only watch intently. If Xiao Ming Buddha truly couldn't hold on, they would have to intervene. If necessary, they would abandon the battle and escape the central lake. If they couldn't kill the Yellow Sand Yaksha this time, they could try again next time. At the very least, they couldn't let Xiao Ming Buddha die. Otherwise, they would have no chance of killing the Yellow Sand Yaksha and entering the Nether Swamp. Xiao Ming Buddha held his shield, enduring the Yellow Sand Yaksha's frenzied attacks for several minutes. Although he seemed to be at a disadvantage, he wasn't actually injured. Finally, after several minutes of relentless attacks, the Yellow Sand Yaksha's offensive began to weaken. It then let out another sharp scream, summoning its minions once more. Lin Moyu had been prepared for this. As soon as the sound began, he pointed a finger. A flash of red light passed by, and the Yellow Sand Yaksha let out a miserable cry, its summoning scream abruptly stopping. Lin Moyu had interrupted its summoning, and the Yellow Sand Yaksha turned its head sharply towards Lin Moyu, its eyes filled with violent madness. It locked onto him, and in the next second, the Yellow Sand Yaksha shot towards him like a rocket. At this moment, Xiao Ming Buddha's voice came.
Give me 1 minute.
Lin Moyu understood and spread his undead wings, flying backward. In the water, Lin Moyu's speed was not as fast as the Yellow Sand Yaksha's. But with the help of the undead wings, the difference wasn't too great. He couldn't escape, but he could hold on for a while. Xiao Ming Buddha clasped his hands together, chanting Buddhist scriptures, and the sun above his head grew even more intense. Under the Buddha's light, Xiao Ming Buddha appeared solemn and dignified. In the great sun above his head, a star of laws could faintly be seen flickering. In the river of law stars, it seemed as if countless Buddhas were chanting scriptures. This was the Law Star River of the Buddhist clan, and only the Buddhist clan knew its secrets. After a dozen seconds, the Yellow Sand Yaksha caught up with Lin Moyu, thrusting its spear mercilessly. Lin Moyu felt himself being locked onto by an extremely violent and powerful aura. The undead wings vibrated rapidly, instantly breaking the soul lock. The flash wizard appeared, and Lin Moyu's body turned into light, instantly flying tens of thousands of meters away. The Yellow Sand Yaksha's attack missed, and the lake water exploded with immense force, sending water columns skyward like a volcanic eruption. Immediately after, the Yellow Sand Yaksha's neck exploded, as Lin Moyu used Corpse Explosion to attack it again. The Yellow Sand Yaksha's head tilted, its eyes filled with even more anger, staring at Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu quickly distanced himself, escaping rapidly. The Yellow Sand Yaksha frantically chased Lin Moyu, who used the Undead Wings ability to break soul locks and the Flash Wizard's Light Transformation ability to dodge the Yellow Sand Yaksha's attacks repeatedly. During this time, he even counterattacked twice, firmly attracting the Yellow Sand Yaksha's attention. His maneuvers left the Black Sand God King and the Erosion God King in awe. The Black Sand God King had initially planned to intervene if Lin Moyu couldn't hold on, to attract the Yellow Sand Yaksha's attention. But he didn't expect Lin Moyu to be so agile. A minute passed quickly, and suddenly, countless rays of Buddha's light shone down, covering a radius of 10,000 miles. The lake water was purified by the Buddha's light, becoming clear. Within the Buddha's light, Xiao Ming Buddha sat cross-legged under the great sun, appearing solemn and dignified. He pointed at the yellow sand yaksha.
Evil creature, submit.
The Buddha's voice echoed, and the yellow sand yaksha was momentarily stunned, unable to move. It was once again enchanted by the Buddha's voice, its soul filled with thoughts of conversion. Xiaoming Buddha then transformed his finger into a palm and pressed down.
Amitabha, Buddha's light slays the demon.
Chanting the Buddha's name, the Buddha's light intensified, forming a giant hand that grasped the yellow sand yaksha. The giant hand of Buddha's light tightened, trying to crush the yellow sand yaksha. Under attack, the yellow sand yaksha woke up, struggling frantically and continuously attacking the giant hand with its spear. The Buddha's light rippled, and the grip weakened slightly under the attacks. Xiaoming Buddha continued chanting scriptures, strengthening the giant hand's power. Lin Moyu, pale-faced, whispered,
Attack quickly. Help Xiaoming Buddha.
He appeared extremely weak, as if he had exhausted most of his strength during the chase. The Black Sand God King and the Erosion God King immediately attacked the Yellow Sand Yaksha upon hearing Lin Moyu's words. Although they were both at the 9th rank of God King and minor deities, their attacks were not weak. Their attacks broke through the Yellow Sand Yaksha's defense, causing it harm. The Yellow Sand Yaksha's aura grew weaker, and after a few minutes of struggle, it was finally crushed. Its body exploded, turning into yellow sand and scattering into the lake. Along with the yellow sand, a dazzling crystal core fell. Xiaoming Buddha controlled the giant hand of Buddha's light, grabbing the crystal core. He slowly retracted his spell, and the great sun above his head disappeared. After using the secret technique, Xiaoming Buddha's aura was slightly weak, this time genuinely so. He sighed.
It's finally over.
Lin Moyu smiled slightly.
It wasn't easy.
Xiaoming Buddha took out the crystal core.
Let's open the passage now.
Lin Moyu shook his head.
No rush. We have the crystal core, and the passage can be opened at any time. Let's recover first.
Lin Moyu's suggestion was reasonable, and Xiaoming Buddha realized he was being hasty. If they opened the passage now and encountered danger, they would be at a disadvantage. The four returned to the shore to meditate and recover. After the battle, the Black Sand God King and the Erosion God King were in the best condition, having consumed the least energy. Xiaoming Buddha had consumed the most, being the main force. Lin Moyu appeared to have consumed a lot, but much of it was an act. He did this to show others that his strength was not that great. After the battle, it seemed that the four had gained more trust in each other, possibly due to the oath of the Great World, reducing their mutual suspicion. Lin Moyu looked at the Black Sand God King and the Erosion God King.
Why do you two want to go to the Nether Swamp?
1368 Chapter 1368. Why do you want to go to the Nether Swamp? The Erosion God King remained silent as usual. Lin Moyu couldn't tell if he didn't want to speak or if he had nothing to say. From previous observations, it was clear that the one most eager to enter the Nether Swamp was Xiaoming Buddha, followed by the Black Sand God King. Lin Moyu had only shown a slight interest in entering, but it wasn't strong. The Erosion God King, however, was always silent, making it hard to read his intentions. After a moment of contemplation, the Black Sand God King finally spoke.
I didn't know about the Nether Swamp before. When the Yellow Earth Desert first appeared, someone from our Sand clan entered it but never returned. After entering the Yellow Earth Desert, I coincidentally obtained some clues about my clan members, which led me to discover the existence of the Nether Swamp. Those clues also suggested that the Nether Swamp might help me advance further in the minor deity realm.
Lin Moyu was slightly surprised.
You mean someone from your clan entered the Nether Swamp but never came out, yet some information was sent back from within the Nether Swamp?
The Black Sand God King nodded.
Exactly.
Lin Moyu was shocked that someone could send information back from the Nether Swamp. Amidst his shock, Lin Moyu also thought of some things he hadn't considered before. When Su Qingyang from the human clan was trapped in the Nether Swamp, powerful figures from the human clan tried to rescue him but failed. He always wondered how those powerful figures knew Su Qingyang was trapped there, and even had some information about the Nether Swamp. It seemed there were hidden details he wasn't aware of. As for advancing further in the minor deity realm, it wasn't impossible. Even among minor deities, there were significant differences in strength. The Black Sand God King was clearly weaker than Xiaoming Buddha, but Lin Moyu didn't care about the specific hierarchy. He would understand it naturally when he reached that level. The Black Sand God King then asked,
"Why do you want to enter the Nether Swamp, Taoist Lin?"
Lin Moyu didn't hide anything.
"I was entrusted by a senior to enter the Nether Swamp to rescue someone."
The Black Sand God King was slightly taken aback.
"Rescue someone?"
Lin Moyu nodded.
"Yes, a senior from the human clan entered the Nether Swamp when the Yellow Earth Desert first appeared and never came out. However, a powerful figure from the human clan received information that the senior is still alive, so I was given this task."
Lin Moyu was telling the truth, and the Black Sand God King had no reason to doubt him. At this moment, the Erosion God King slowly spoke.
"I can choose not to go."
Lin Moyu was a bit surprised by this answer. The Black Sand God King explained on behalf of the Erosion God King.
"Erosion is actually accompanying me. Although we are from different clans, we are friends and have a good relationship."
Lin Moyu nodded in understanding. He then looked at Xiaoming Buddha, who was meditating not far away, and asked openly,
"May I ask why you want to enter the Nether Swamp, little Buddha?"
Xiaoming Buddha, with his eyes closed, responded with a Buddhist chant.
"A senior from my clan went missing in the Nether Swamp, leaving behind a precious Buddhist artifact. I need to retrieve it."
Xiaoming Buddha provided a reasonable explanation that no one could refute. Buddhist artifacts are very valuable, and in the Buddhist clan, only artifacts above the deity level, refined through special Buddhist methods, can be called Buddhist artifacts. A Buddhist artifact left in the Nether Swamp indeed warranted retrieval. However, Lin Moyu didn't fully believe Xiaoming Buddha's words, as he always maintained a scrutinizing view of the Buddhist clan. Half a day later, Xiaoming Buddha slowly opened his eyes.
"I have recovered."
Lin Moyu responded.
"Then let's set off."
The Black Sand God King glanced at the Erosion God King, seemingly asking if he wanted to go. After all, the Nether Swamp was not safe, and entering it might mean never coming out. The Erosion God King and the Black Sand God King exchanged a look and made a decision. He would go. Lin Moyu felt that the two seemed more like brothers who had gone through life and death together rather than just friends. The four of them once again leaped into the lake, holding the death branch, and headed towards the central formation. This time, without the yellow sand yaksha, the fish-bodied, dog-headed monsters retreated due to the death branch. The four of them smoothly reached the formation at the center. In the center of the formation was a circular depression, just the size of the yellow sand yaksha's crystal core. Xiaoming Buddha took out the crystal core and placed it in the depression. The crystal core emitted a faint yellow light, and the entire formation began to glow slightly. The mysterious runes on the formation lit up, weaving into a beautiful pattern.
"Ancient runes, a beautiful pattern, profound principles, truly mysterious."
Xiaoming Buddha muttered to himself. Lin Moyu's ears twitched slightly. It seemed that Xiaoming Buddha knew something. With his own knowledge, Lin Moyu couldn't recognize any of the runes. He could only tell that these runes didn't belong to the current era or even the ancient era. They were from a distant past. In mysterious manners and ancient tombs, there were similar runes. This yellow earth desert, which appeared due to chaotic rules, was closely related to both. The runes exploded, and a golden light shot straight into the sky. The lake water above the formation was dispersed, and they could see the sky outside the lake. In the sky, a huge black hole appeared, like a portal.
"It's actually in the sky."
They were all stunned. No one had expected that the passage to the Nether Swamp would be in the sky. Flying was impossible in the yellow earth desert, so no one could find the correct entrance without the formation. After chanting a Buddhist mantra, Xiaoming Buddha was the first to step into the formation. He then ascended into the sky, using the power of the formation to soar upwards. Lin Moyu also stepped into the formation, feeling an invisible force lifting him rapidly. The Black Sand God King and the Erosion God King followed Lin Moyu into the formation. In an instant, the four of them passed through the formation and entered the portal in the sky, disappearing from sight. Just a minute later, the formation closed, the lake water flowed back, and everything returned to calm. In the central lake, the yellow sand yaksha's crystal core still existed, and a large amount of yellow sand swirled around it, enveloping the crystal core. In just a few minutes, a newly born yellow sand yaksha appeared in the central lake. With a roar, it stirred up waves, announcing its return. In the pitch-black space, Lin Moyu experienced a transmission and entered another world. A foul, bloody smell assaulted his nostrils. Lin Moyu almost thought he had returned to the corpse realm. Except for the different laws, the smell was the same. He immediately sealed his sense of smell and began to observe this world. A cold wind blew against his face, carrying a strong aura of death. The heat of the yellow earth desert contrasted sharply with the cold here, making it hard to adapt. A huge fireball hung in the sky, illuminating the world. But the fireball emitted no heat, and its flames were gray, giving it a strange appearance. Lin Moyu looked at the fireball in the sky, slightly shocked. He recognized that the flames burning on the fireball were undying flames.
The nether swamp looks like this.
Xiaoming Buddha's voice came from the side. 1369, 1369. Chapter 1369. Nether Swamp, Decaying World. Xiaoming Buddha's voice carried a sense of relief, as if he had finally understood something. Lin Moyu observed Xiaoming Buddha's complex expression, which contained a mix of joy, relief, disgust, and even a hint of greed, though the greed was well hidden. Lin Moyu's soul was extremely sensitive, capturing all of Xiaoming Buddha's reactions. He analyzed the information he gathered, particularly noting the trace of greed.
Is it because of that Buddhist artifact?
Lin Moyu wondered, but then dismissed the thought. If it were for the Buddhist artifact, the expression should have shown desire or even excitement, not greed. So what was it? While observing Xiaoming Buddha, Lin Moyu also kept an eye on the Black Sand God King and the Erosion God King. The Black Sand God King's reaction was simpler. He seemed to be searching for something, consistent with the information he had shared. Lin Moyu asked,
Fellow Taoists, now that we have entered the nether swamp, should we continue together or split up?
The four maintained a certain distance from each other. They had left the central lake, and the oath of the great world had lost its effect. Although there was a bit of trust among them, it was fragile and could break at any moment. Xiaoming Buddha didn't hesitate and said,
I wish to act alone.
Lin Moyu had anticipated this. Xiaoming Buddha's motives for entering the nether swamp were not pure and definitely not as simple as he claimed. Since Xiaoming Buddha had spoken, the Black Sand God King followed suit.
We also choose to act alone.
He included the Erosion God King in his statement. Lin Moyu smiled slightly.
Then let's each take care.
The brief cooperation ended, and the team disbanded. They came from different races and had their own goals. The next time they met, it could be as enemies. Anything was possible in this unknown world. On the dark and desolate land, Lin Moyu moved forward alone. In reality, he wasn't alone. He had already sent out his Death Knights to scout the area. From the information relayed by the Death Knights, the Nether Swamp was unexpectedly vast. Indeed, there were many swamps within the Nether Swamp, but they occupied relatively small areas. The larger ones had diameters of only a few hundred kilometers, while the smaller ones were just a few hundred meters across. They didn't seem to be the places Lin Moyu was looking for. A map gradually formed in his mind, and Lin Moyu noticed a peculiar pattern among the scattered swamps. They seemed chaotic but actually followed a certain order. As the map in his mind became more complete, Lin Moyu realized what they resembled. The swamps of various sizes looked like splattered water droplets, as if a giant water balloon had been thrown from 100 meters high, bursting upon impact and splashing water in all directions, forming seemingly random but actually patterned droplets. With this realization, Lin Moyu quickly locked onto his target and knew which direction to head. The Death Knights advanced rapidly, reaching the limits of the Yellow Earth Desert's tolerance. In the next second, they broke through this limit, transforming into streams of light. The Flash Wizard appeared on Lin Moyu's shoulder, allowing all undead to move at the speed of light, traveling 150,000 kilometers per second.
There's no speed limit here. But flying is still impossible. The laws here are no longer dominated by earth and stone laws. Various laws can be used to their full extent. The death aura is very strong, enhancing the power of death laws and my undead law as well. If there are monsters in the Nether Swamp, they are either decaying corpses or undead creatures.
Lin Moyu made various judgments based on the information he gathered. These judgments were based on his experience and were likely accurate. The Death Knights reached speeds of 150,000 kilometers per second, half the speed of light. In just 1 minute, they had traveled over 7 million kilometers. They could have gone further, but frequent swamps blocked their path, forcing the Death Knights to detour and slow down. After advancing for over 10 minutes and covering billions of kilometers, they finally encountered a massive swamp. From the Death Knight's perspective, this swamp seemed endless. The Death Knights spread out, running along the swamp's edges to measure its size. Lin Moyu's shock grew stronger as he realized the swamp's diameter exceeded 1 million kilometers, large enough to contain a star. A swamp the size of a star was unheard of. The Death Knights continued beyond the giant swamp, while Lin Moyu arrived at its edge. The swamp's mud was pitch black, seemingly lifeless, with occasional bubbles rising and bursting. However, through the undead vision, Lin Moyu saw a different reality. Beneath the black surface was a large amount of decaying blood. The blood had rotted, turning into mud. Even with his sense of smell sealed, his soul could sense the stench. The smell was more than just foul. It was filled with the resentment of the dead, forming a deadly poison. A true deity would die from prolonged exposure to this poison, even with their sense of smell sealed. The poison could corrode the soul. In the undead vision, there were no soul fires in the swamp. Lin Moyu wasn't sure if there were none or if they were hidden like the flying ants. After a moment of contemplation, he sent out several skeletal warriors. They transformed into light, running across the swamp at high speed. Their speed prevented them from sinking immediately. After 2 seconds and nearly 300,000 kilometers, the skeletal warriors began to sink. The swamp's mud exerted a pulling force, as if giant hands were dragging them down. The skeletal warriors swung their swords with all their might. With a loud explosion, the mud erupted like a volcano. The skeletal warriors leaped high from the swamp. At this moment, Lin Moyu saw something different. In the undead vision, numerous soul fires suddenly appeared beneath the mud. They emerged from the mud, reaching for the airborne skeletal warriors. The hands were decayed, some resembling human hands, others like animal claws, with rotting flesh still dripping blood. The skeletal warriors swung their swords in mid-air, striking the decayed flesh with metallic sounds. The immense recoil pushed the skeletal warriors higher. A powerful suction force emerged from the swamp, trying to pull them down. Lin Moyu immediately recalled the skeletal warriors. His expression turned serious. Besides the monsters in the swamp, he had seen something else. 1,370. Chapter 1370. The Origin of the Nether Swamp. In the very center of the swamp stood a stone stele. Lin Moyu could see it because the swamp was so vast that even with his eyesight, he couldn't see the stele from the shore. The stone stele was hidden in the black and gray swamp center, only visible when the skeletal god warrior approached the swamp's center. Lin Moyu recalled the information given to him by Zhu Qiwu, which mentioned that Su Qingyang's soul was anchored in a stone stele within the swamp. However, Lin Moyu didn't think it was this particular stele. In such a massive swamp, there should be more than one stone stele. Thus, he inferred that the center of each giant swamp might have a stone stele. It was hard to say which swamp's stone stele contained Su Qingyang. The Nether Swamp was evidently not safe. The rotting hands, claws, and soul fires encountered earlier were all at the 9th rank of God King. These creatures were hidden in the swamp and were not easy to deal with. Flying was impossible here, making it the home ground for these rotting monsters. Lin Moyu pondered for a moment, feeling somewhat helpless. Having come this far, giving up was not an option. He could only take it one step at a time. As for what was inside the stone steel, he would have to see it with his own eyes to know. With a thought, Lin Moyu transformed into a stream of light, rushing towards the swamp's center. His speed, like that of the skeletal god warrior, reached 150,000 kilometers per second, surpassing the limit of a 9th rank god king and even exceeding that of a minor deity. 2 seconds later, Lin Moyu finally saw the steel's shadow in his vision. Although still far from the steel, the swamp below began to exert a pulling force, causing Lin Moyu to start sinking. With a thought, a skeletal god warrior appeared beneath him. Using the skeletal god warrior as a stepping stone, Lin Moyu propelled himself forward again, transforming into light. The skeletal god warrior was recalled just before it fell into the swamp, the coordination flawless. No matter how good the coordination, it couldn't compare to the synergy between himself and the Undead Legion. The Undead Legion was like his own hand, moving as he willed. The closer he got to the steel, the stronger the pulling force from the swamp below. Lin Moyu repeatedly used the skeletal god warrior to gain leverage, breaking free from the swamp's pull each time. After 5 such maneuvers, he finally landed on the steel. Standing on the steel, Lin Moyu examined it closely. The material of the steel was identical to that of the mysterious Manor's castle, incredibly sturdy. Even if Lin Moyu used all his strength, he couldn't leave a mark on it. However, the steel before him bore battle scars and inscriptions.
Nether Legion, 1st Army, 3rd Squad's tomb.
Seeing the inscription, a chill ran down Lin Moyu's spine. His initial guess was correct. A great battle had indeed taken place here. The Nether Swamp was not just a swamp but a blood and flesh graveyard. The 3rd Squad of the 1st Army of the Nether Legion was buried here. The thought of a squad's tomb requiring an area of 1,000,000 kilometers was chilling. How large was this squad? Lin Moyu felt that even if he gathered his entire Undead Legion, numbering in the millions, it wouldn't need such a vast area. This squad must have numbered in the billions. And this was just one squad of the 1st Army. How many such squads were there in an army? And how many armies were there in the Nether Legion? If there was a Nether Legion, were there other legions as well? How large were the other legions? They probably weren't much smaller. Lin Moyu was deeply shocked. He had thought his Undead Legion was numerous enough. Once he advanced in rank, his Undead Legion would be enough to sweep across the stars. But now, it seemed his legion was insignificant, not even a small fry. The ancient wars must have been unimaginably intense, with battles on an enormous scale. Lin Moyu was profoundly moved, and any small sense of pride he had vanished. Forcing himself to calm down, he carefully examined the steel. The steel was incredibly sturdy, impervious to the ravages of time. Using undead vision, he found no hidden souls within the steel. A visual inspection revealed nothing unusual either. Finally, Lin Moyu used his soul power to probe the steel. This time, the steel responded with a slight tremor. The slight tremor of the 1,000-meter steel caused a significant reaction in the swamp. Rotting mud flew everywhere, and black and red liquid with a strong rotting smell gushed from the base of the steel. Lin Moyu looked at the sudden emergence of the black and red liquid, pondered for a few seconds, and then thought of a possibility. He leaped down to the base of the steel, using his palm to absorb a large amount of the black and red liquid. With his fingers forming a sword shape, he guided the black and red liquid, evenly smearing it over the inscriptions on the steel. As soon as Lin Moyu's first stroke fell, the steel began to tremble slightly, with more black and red liquid gushing from its base. The base acted like a small fountain, continuously spewing black and red liquid. Lin Moyu finished smearing one character and absorbed more black and red liquid to start on the second character. He meticulously and carefully smeared each stroke. Lin Moyu did this because he saw some images. This was a tomb, and the steel was actually a tombstone. The inscriptions were engraved, and there seemed to be a faint trace of blood inside the characters, indicating that they were once colored. Over countless years, the color had faded. He thought of the tombstones in the human clan's small world, where characters were filled with blood. The black and red liquid gushing from the base of the steel made Lin Moyu realize what he needed to do. Using his fingers as a pen, he filled the inscriptions with blood. When all 15 characters were filled with black and red liquid, a red light shot from the steel, straight into the sky. The steel roared, and red light enveloped an area of 10,000 meters. A scene lost to history played out before Lin Moyu's eyes. A peerless warrior clad in heavy armor stood in the starry sky. The starry sky was filled with countless corpses, too many to count. Facing a powerful army alone, the warrior showed no fear. His voice echoed through the starry sky.
The army is defeated, and I am ashamed before my master. I will exchange my life to bring my brothers back.
As his words fell, the warrior's body collapsed, unleashing a terrifying power. The corpses floating in the starry sky gathered into masses, transforming into flesh and blood, breaking through spatial constraints, and being transmitted away. The scene then shifted to a gray world. In the gray world, undying flames burned brightly, illuminating the land.
Nether swamp!
Lin Moyu whispered, recognizing the scene as the Nether Swamp. However, it wasn't called the Nether Swamp at that time. The land was flat with no swamps. The sky broke open, and massive chunks of flesh and blood fell. The flesh and blood splattered like water, forming giant swamps with diameters of millions of kilometers. The splattered flesh formed swamps of varying sizes. The warrior's shadow appeared in the sky. Though dead, his heroic spirit remained. He summoned numerous steels and inscribed them. His voice thundered like rolling thunder.
This is the burial ground, where the undying flames will shine forever, waiting for the master's return to fight the stars again.
As if responding to his words, the flesh and blood boiled, and streams of flesh and blood mixed with countless severed limbs shot into the sky, reaching 10,000 meters high, and remained turbulent for a long time. 1371, 1371. Chapter 1371. Ancient image, damned curiosity. The battle never ceased, and the souls never perished. Under the illumination of the undying flames, the soul fires of these warriors had never extinguished over countless years. The light on the stone steel gradually dimmed, and just as it was about to disappear, a final wisp of red light flew into Lin Moyu's body. The red light was so fast that Lin Moyu had no time to react. The red light drilled directly into his body and then disappeared. Lin Moyu's body suddenly felt lighter, as if some restriction had vanished. Then, his body automatically floated in midair.
Can I fly now?
Lin Moyu realized that the restriction on flying in this world had disappeared for him. With a slight thought, Lin Moyu understood that it was because he had colored the characters on the stone steel. The swamp was a grave, and the stone steel was actually a tombstone. Coloring the inscriptions on the tombstone was a form of respect for the deceased. Lin Moyu, guided by a sudden inspiration, completed these actions and was recognized. Lin Moyu bowed slightly to the tombstone. Regardless of the reasons for the ancient war, it had nothing to do with him. Right and wrong, good and evil were irrelevant to him. Separated by countless ages, there was no need to dwell on these matters. Lin Moyu was merely moved by the images he saw, impressed by the soldier's spirit and the general's self-sacrifice. Their unwavering loyalty to their master, even in death, waiting for their master's return for billions of years, deeply touched him. After considering all this, Lin Moyu bowed slightly to the tombstone. Coloring the inscriptions earlier was also an act from the heart. After completing all this, Lin Moyu looked into the distance. In that direction, the Death Knights had discovered another giant swamp. There was no need to say it. There must be another tombstone in the swamp. Lin Moyu transformed into a stream of light and shot towards it. On the way, he released more Death Knights, who ran across the vast land, searching for more giant swamps. From the previous images, it was clear that the first army consisted of 100 squads. After the general sacrificed himself, all 100 squads returned. This meant that there would be 100 giant swamps in the Nether Swamp. Su Qingyang's soul should be hidden in one of these giant swamp tombstones. Fortunately, he could now fly, which made the search much more convenient and faster. A stream of light flew across the gray-black world, with the scenery below quickly disappearing from sight. Soon, Lin Moyu arrived at the second swamp and rushed directly towards it. A few seconds later, Lin Moyu stopped in front of a huge tombstone.
Nether Legion, 1st Army 8th Squad's tomb.
The tombstone was inscribed with characters, changing from the 3rd squad to the 8th squad. After carefully observing and confirming that Su Qingyang's soul was not in the tombstone, Lin Moyu used his soul to activate the tombstone. With a slight tremor, a large amount of black and red liquid gushed from the base of the tombstone. Lin Moyu repeated the process, using his fingers as a pen to color the inscriptions on the tombstone. Coloring the inscriptions was a form of respect for the deceased. Lin Moyu colored steadily and evenly. One large character after another was dyed black and red. The soul sensed the smell of blood. The black and red liquid was the essence blood of ancient powerful warriors. When all the characters were colored, the tombstone emitted a red light, shooting straight into the sky, just like before. Lin Moyu once again saw the previous images with no difference. However, the images could not be stopped, and Lin Moyu had to watch patiently. Fortunately, it only took 2 minutes. But at the end of the images, the scene changed. The general of the First Army, with his undying heroic spirit, stood proudly between heaven and earth, his voice like thunder.
The burial ground, illuminated by the undying flames, awaits the Master's return to fight the stars again.
The flesh and blood responded, surging into the sky. The previous images ended here, but now there was a continuation. The sky suddenly tore open, as if someone had forcibly ripped it apart. Lin Moyu even heard the tearing sound. The images stopped abruptly and disappeared. Lin Moyu couldn't help but feel curious. Who tore the sky? Was it an enemy chasing them? How would the general, now just a heroic spirit, and the warriors, now turned into blood mud, respond? Without thinking, Lin Moyu continued to the next giant swamp. Perhaps the answer lay in the next tombstone. One swamp after another was discovered, and tombstones were found. Lin Moyu continuously colored the inscriptions on the tombstones, repeatedly seeing the ancient images. He found that each tombstone's recorded images varied in length. Some were as short as 20 seconds, only recording the moment the warriors returned. The longer ones stopped after the sky tore open, never showing what happened next. Although he had some guesses, guesses were just guesses and not necessarily correct. Gradually, Lin Moyu discovered a pattern. The higher the squad number on the tombstone, the more complete the recorded images. Moreover, the higher the squad number, the deeper the tombstone was in the land, closer to the center. After repeated confirmations, he found this to be true. This also pointed Lin Moyu in the right direction. The squad numbers served as the best guide. He just needed to head towards the higher numbers. There were a total of 100 squads, numbered from 1 to 100. Curiosity grew heavier, and Lin Moyu became more eager to know what happened next. At the same time, he continued searching for Su Qingyang, not knowing which tombstone hid his soul. So, it didn't matter where he searched. The probability was the same, and it was all a matter of luck. 2 days later, Lin Moyu arrived at a tombstone. The tombstone looked no different from the previous ones, except for the number on the inscription.
Nether Legion, 1st Army, 82nd Squad's tomb. This is the 36th tombstone. I hope there will be some new discoveries.
Skillfully activating the tombstone, coloring the inscriptions, and watching the recorded images. After watching nearly identical images 36 times, there was finally some progress this time. After the sky tore open, 2 giant hands reached in. The 2 hands clasped together, as if holding an invisible crack in the sky, and then pulled hard. With a tearing sound, the crack in the sky instantly expanded countless times. The general's heroic spirit raised his battle knife and roared. The images stopped again and disappeared. Lin Moyu couldn't help but sigh. Curiosity was piqued again and again, but he never got the real answer. This feeling was quite unpleasant. As the red light gradually dimmed, just as Lin Moyu was about to leave, his eyes suddenly focused. He saw an object at the base of the tombstone. After the red light from the tombstone faded, the black and red blood at the base receded like a tide, revealing a large area of blood mud. The object was finally exposed, lying at the base of the tombstone, half buried in the blood mud. It was clearly something that didn't belong to the nether swamp. Lin Moyu reached out and absorbed it into his palm. The object was stained with black and red blood. Lin Moyu wiped it clean. It was a rectangular box, only the size of a palm, very delicate, looking like a woman's item. It had been hidden at the base of the tombstone, only revealed after he finished coloring the inscriptions and watching the images. Lin Moyu pushed the box 100 meters away and then opened it from a distance. A silver light shot out from the box, like a sharp sword, straight into the sky. 1372.